Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take for Market Rebellion. And wow, what a couple of days we've put back to back. It's just been unbelievable. You go back to Friday, we had that huge move to the upside. And yesterday, we followed up with a nice, big, solid move to the upside that really accelerated in the last, again, hour of the day. And we've seen this time and time again where we've seen this theme where either it's a sell-off or it's been more often lately a buying opportunity that really explodes to the upside. And that's exactly the kind of markets that we're seeing right now. And the final hour, we did see that big move to the upside. We finished up strong, 460 points higher. Big, huge jump to the upside, up nearly 2% on the Dow. You did have a big lag, though. When you looked over at the NASDAQ was in red territory for a big portion of the day, and then finally started to catch up just a little bit. And by the end of the day, it was up about 1%. So the NASDAQ actually made up a lot of ground late in the day. And I think that was part of the surge that we were seeing in the overall markets was a lot of these various names in the NASDAQ that really started to move to the upside. Now, gold recaptured that 1,700 level. Oil continues to hold somewhere around that $40 level yesterday. Boeing, just unbelievable. Have we ever seen anything like this move in Boeing? Now, let's not forget, it wasn't all that long ago with the huge selling, and on the lows, Boeing was trading in the 80s. Well, just go back now, a little over a week ago, we had unusual option activity, not a week ago yet, because that didn't hit until Wednesday. But we had unusual option activity in Boeing last Wednesday. Stock was trading about 157, started out the week even lower. So let's just take it from Wednesday. From 157, they're buying the 165 calls that expire at the end of the week. Stock rocketed up, got all the way up to about 218, pulled back a little bit, and then exploded even higher. Another move yesterday where it was adding another 12% on top of all the other numbers that we've seen coming out of Boeing. And looking at the different levels of where this stock had come from and where it's moved up to and continues to be something that's been absolutely spectacular, at least yesterday, seeing a little bit of pressure today. We'll get into that in a second. But the airlines, the casinos, the cruise lines, all of which strong once again yesterday. Energy, you had the Apaches and Occidentals and those kind of names really absolutely just giving an unreal lift to the OIH. And I keep bringing this up because nobody's talking about this, but in the energy space, it's not just energy names that everybody's knows inside and out, but it's a lot of the names that are those second tier names. That's why I bring up the OIH. Up yesterday, 12%. The XLE, huge day once again, up 4.5%. So we're seeing these massive moves in energy and financials. And financials, that one's a little bit more mainstream. Everybody's talking about that. But I think the interesting thing is the names that really were standing out in terms of performance have been Wells Fargo, Citi, and most of the time Bank of America. Yesterday, a little bit more of Wells Fargo and Citi as in terms of what really stood out with the financials moving to the upside. American Express, what can you say? Another strong, powerful day for that stock, which had moved to the upside very, very nicely as well. There's a name out there that not everybody's familiar with. I'm not hearing anybody on TV, nobody on television talking about this name, but Nikola. Now, Dirk Mueller, one of our guys, the CEO of our company, as a matter of fact, does a great job, and he likes to get involved once in a while, and he likes to be on the cutting edge of things. And he looked at this name, and he just got so excited about it. Well, we had some unusual option activity in this name just yesterday. I want to say they were buying the July 45s, but this is a stock that's just fairly recently been trading and options and all the rest of it. So it's a little tougher to read unusual option activity in certain names when they're brand new and we haven't seen and we don't really know as much as we'd like to know about them. But anyway, electric vehicles, that's what this company does. Unbelievable move yesterday. Continued this move even today. I mean, just spectacular. NKLA. I'm not recommending it. I'm just telling you that name definitely stands out. And if you research this a little bit, and put in some of the ties that are so obvious with Tesla, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when you take a look and take a look. I encourage you, because it's a fun company just to know something about, because others do not. And you will be the one who's in front of this whole thing. When everybody else is talking about Tesla, you're going to be talking about this name. And a lot of people out there are going to scratch their heads and not know what you're talking about until they look it up. And then they're going to say, wow, that's really interesting. That's really cool. Cutting edge. VIX yesterday, we were in the 24, 25 sort of a range yesterday. We actually finished up a little bit higher. A lot of people asking me, Twitter and through Market Rebellion and other places, hey, Pete, why is the volatility index moving up on an up day? I can tell you that. The volatility index, regardless of what everybody else who in my opinion, doesn't really understand what the measurements are, it's not the fear index. It is not the fear index. The volatility index is the index that's just giving you a barometer or a take on what is expected, what have we seen in the markets, and what are we expecting, and how's that going to continue in the markets in terms of movement. And as I've said many times, and I'll go through it briefly, at a 16 VIX, you're looking for a 1% move. At a 32 VIX, you're looking at a 2% move. So we're a little bit less than a 2% move yesterday, just a little bit less than that. And so where did we finish up? Well, around 26, 27, as opposed to 32, which would indicate about a 2% move. It tells you much more than people think, and the people who don't understand it just wash over it. I'm telling you right now, very important. We still use it. We talk about it all the time. And as it relates to implied volatilities in the broader market, but then when you dig down even deeper, the implied volatilities of individual names, that's where it really is something that's very, very important. And we're always looking for that. And we've seen so many great opportunities. And I say, when the VIX is really high, that to me is a time where there's probably blood in the streets. You'd rather be buying stocks and using those options against your stock in a positive way to collect some of those premiums and reduce some of the risk that you've got on. That's been the strategy that I've gone with for a very long period of time. When the VIX gets a lot lower, it's time to start buying options and less stocks because the opportunities are where those options are trading. So that gives you a little bit of a rundown of volatility in terms of that's very quick. You're going to have to know a lot more than that, but I'm just giving you a kind of a quick run through on what's really been going on with the VIX. So let's stick with that for 1 second. Today, you look at the markets look down early, and as we got into the opening bell, they remained down about 300 points. I'm looking at the Dow right now, seems to be right around that 300 level. We've been a little bit less, a little bit more, but let's call it down 300, so call it about 1% down on the Dow right now. NASDAQ about half of that. Matter of fact, I'm looking at the NASDAQ just now. We just moved significantly since we started. The markets were down 300, now they're down about 210. The NASDAQ was down about 0.5%. Now it's in positive territory. That disconnect continues where they're buying and where they're positioning. This is just really interesting. Anyway, looking at the volatility index, it's trading around 26, call it 27, somewhere in that sort of a range. So that's up about 8% on the day. It was up about 8% on the day. Not about 4% right now, actually, on the day. So a nice move in the volatility index that we're seeing as people get a little bit nervous probably right now, and it's probably priced about right for what kind of moves that we're seeing right now. Might even be a little bit higher, and it'll be interesting to see if we start to see that pull back and get a little closer to yesterday's lower numbers, which were, call it in the upper 24s, 25, somewhere in that range. Now, just take everything I said about yesterday, flip it around, and you see a market that is down about, we were talking about 300, now 200, but the XLE was down about 4%. Yesterday, that was one of the leaders. The OIH yesterday was huge to the upside. Today, down about 6.5%. You look at the industrials, you look at Boeing. Boeing today started off down and did not stay down very long. It gives you a little sense of what the thought process is of analyzing Boeing right now, and people just seem to be very, very bullish. So that stock did open down significantly, but then it got off of that number almost immediately and started moving back up. Now, still in negative territory, but given the huge run to the upside that it's had, you would have expected that maybe that it'd be a little bit longer lasting, this push to the downside. It's not really what we're seeing right now. So I like to give you guys a little bit of a thought of the day sometimes. For the people, I've heard more people today say on TV, wow, in the last month, we've really seen a much broader move in the markets. It's been going on for a month. Try to understand, this has been going on for a month. It hasn't been the Power Five. It's been energy. It's been financials. It's been industrials. It's been a lot of those names that were just absolutely pounded. The airlines, the cruise ships, the hotels, all the leisure, travel and leisure, just moving in a big, broad move to the upside. So to say today, let's look at the last month, I think you should have been talking about in the last month, within the last month, that we have been seeing this because it's been a much broader rally to the upside than I think has been reported. And it's interesting to me that it's taken so long. It's just amazing that people are just coming out now. This is something that's right in front of us each and every day. We talk about here on The Take all the time. We've talked about this OIH as well as the energy names and a lot of these other things. So really, really interesting. But it's a flip card today where you're seeing a lot different trade today, although, as I mentioned, now we're less than 200 points to the downside. Just shows you the appetite that we are seeing. But a lot of the names that were the positive names yesterday, those are the negative names today. That's really what we're seeing. That's when we were down about 300. Now we're down 170. As a matter of fact, and then the NASDAQ's looking pretty decent, but we're still down about 21 points on the S&P as well. So let's just keep an eye on that. But we're a little over an hour into the trading session as we've made this turn now to the upside. Now, the one thing I really just got to hit one more time is volume. And the volumes are extraordinary. And we talked about that unbelievable volume coming off of Friday. And it was nearly 48 million contracts. Well, yesterday, we had another monster day when you look at some of these volumes. I'm looking at it right now, 36 million yesterday. So the volume is there. It's been very supportive. The derivatives markets are where people can find some leverage and in some cases gives you an opportunity from a risk reward perspective to really be a participant in a very difficult market and be able to manage yourself if you understand, if you've got education and fully understand the situation. So I'm not going to hit you too hard on the education side today, but I will say it is very important. You should check out Market Rebellion because we've got some of the very best, I think the very best in the industry, and it's something that I think you're going to want to know more and more about, which is the options world. Now, Cloudera. It's a name that we don't talk about a whole heck of a lot. It gets talked about here and there, but it's another one of the many names, and we talk about tech, we talk about the cloud, we talk about semis, we talk about this, that, and the other. Cloudera. This name hitting today for unusual option activity. This one stuck out for me. We were started off a little slow in the first hour comparatively to the last couple of days where we've had so many unusual option activities. It's just been crazy. But today a little bit less. Cloudera did stand out for me. And here's what we're seeing. About 8,000 of the June 10 calls trading for about 50 cents. It's a trade. I love trades like this. And why do I'm bringing this one up? Because the stock's trading about $10.17 when this occurred. And they were paying anywhere from 35 cents up to 60 cents. So let's ballpark, middle it, put it at 50 cents. So they're already in the money and there's potential there for move. Now, if it completely goes south and it does not work, the risk reward, I think, is one of these where these are the kinds of names that I'm looking for. Everybody has their own criteria, but I'm looking for what I consider to be great reward for as minimal a risk as I can take. And that's really what I'm trying to do on each and every one of my trades. That's why a lot of the time, John might have his trades, I may have my trades, Mikey might have his trades, Chris might have his trades. Everybody's going to look at things a little bit differently, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. But I point this one out because I thought it stuck out today in the early part of the trading day, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Now, going to give you a quick update, and then we're going to go. The take, God, I'm excited about today. It's Tuesday. It's just been awesome. We've had great weather here in Minnesota, and looks like things are starting to improve, but you know what? We might start seeing some thunderstorms in a little while here too. So we've had a lot of heat, and a lot of heat and a lot of storms look like they might be coming through. So we're down about 160 points on the Dow. NASDAQ is up about 20 points right now, and the S&P still down about 18 points while we're looking at a VIX around 2650. So now as we approach the top part of the hour, getting a little bit closer, about an hour and 45 minutes into the trading, hour and 15 minutes into the trading day, it's going to be a really, really interesting day. Let's see if the volumes continue to hold up. They're a little bit slower, like I said at the start. Will that start to accelerate? But there's definitely a big move as we were down about 350, I think, give or take on the lows. And here we are now down 155. Folks, have a great day of trading. We'll see you tomorrow on The Take.